you're not really computing like, dang, grandpa works a ton. You're just like, that's just part of who grandpa is. Like every time you walk over there on the weekends, he's sitting at the breakfast table working. So I think like having that instilled in me at a young age and understanding and not complain. I never complained. I had like an extreme passion for like what I was doing and what I was building. I'm going to be the head coach at the University of Colorado one day. Like every day is a crucial element to me building that foundation for the greatness that lays before me. And I guess now looking back, that was a very unique mentality and I didn't even realize it.
All right, welcome in to another episode of the Men Forge podcast. I'm your host, Cartwright Morris. If it's your first time coming in, check out menforge.com for more information on the podcast as well as other services I offer. All right, today let's just go ahead and dive in. You heard that quote from my interview with Evan Burke. Evan, it's such a unique career path, unique way. Especially, it's funny from my perspective as someone who initially thought I was going to get into football coaching, but then things changed, and of course, I went a different direction. As y'all all know. But yeah, just his mindset. Like that quote. It's just like every day is a crucial element to building the foundation of the greatness that lays before me. Every day is a crucial element. Everything I'm doing, this extreme passion that everything I'm doing is building towards something. I'm laying something for something better. I'm building towards something. Every little detail, every little thing, just that mindset. And so there's really, two things I want to focus on today is from that quote he mentioned really that hardworking mentality, that grinding mentality, focusing on that in his job, crucial elements. Like he really that was kind of like osmosis that or just from watching his granddad, what he received from that was like, oh, this is what success looks like. This is what hard work looks like. This is what work in general looks like. It's like you just grind, you just do it. You wake up, you get going to work at 5 a.m. You work on Saturdays at the coffee table. And so, I think for us as men, I think there's something we can really take inventory of in our life right now is what are those mentors, men we admire, look up to in our life, especially our young life, that we kind of unconsciously took on as our own, of what defined success, what defined work, what defined masculinity, that we took on unknowingly. Because they're either one or two things. There's something really good that's like benefiting our life, that's really positive. I think for my dad, I think unintentionally, and it could have been he did intentionally do, but was showing up. You show up on time. You show up for friends. You say you're going to be somewhere, you be there. Or it could be bad. The things that we took. I think many of us, I've met with clients, I've talked to people even on this podcast, that your dad will say something very flippantly, but in your mind it resonated as something so true and real of like, this is reality. And I think what we take from our fathers, we can all take inventory of that, of things they've told us that we thought were real and true. So I recommend, just take inventory of that, because I think, Evan, that was really important to what then led to him making that statement and really making that part of his journey into football coaching. It really created the behaviors and the mindsets that was like very essential to where he is now, and something positive that reproduced in his life that could have been, that I'm sure his grandfather had no clue that's how it kind of got started. So, take inventory of the things that you've kind of unconsciously learned about what success is, what masculinity is, and what work is, from the men you admire and saw growing up. And the other thing that I was sitting there thinking about to take from this quote from the podcast was, we have to find that through line. Like Evan said before, it was an extreme passion for what I was doing and what I was building. That's so hard. I feel like I've been on that life journey, right? Trying to figure out what the heck that is. If you're anything like me, finding it's almost like we kind of limp our way to that. Unfortunately, this is the way life works. We got to start doing things and kind of trial and error before we figure out what that is, and eliminating things, and before we start really finding that thing I want to sink my teeth in and just like love and consume and build and vision and anyway, that where I have that purpose in everything I'm doing. So as men, this is what's in way you can start doing that, is really create, all right, as men, like we want to think about, family, husband, as a father, thinking about myself in business, as wealth building, my career trajectory, how I am in the community, and overall this legacy that I'm trying to build, and it doesn't just happen by chance. It doesn't happen flippantly. So if we can, one, prioritize the main things in our life, the things that matter most to us, and then find the through line through them all. Like, how do they build on one another? How do they complement one another? Me building wealth and assets and things that prosper my family, that will lead to then greater decisions down the road to then actually do more things that benefit not only my family but my community. Thinking that way, that legacy building, as well as like just even leadership things in context of valuing family at work, so that your coworkers and your employees come to work excited about work because they see that you prioritize something that brings them energy, and therefore they come to work and work more efficiently. There's a through line through everything. They all build on one another. You don't have as much as us men want to compartmentalize our life. They are all made from one another. But I think when we find that through line, we get excited about one thing, it can start giving energy to other things. And like kind of Evan, I think if you're anything like me, that when you heard him talk about getting a spreadsheet and 400 coaches that all had connecting relationships to him and handwritten notes, you're like, dang, that is obsessive. And for me, that's a little much. I don't think I'd ever get to that point where I would want to or desire to make the effort to do that. But for something that you really want, something that you intently want to pursue, are you willing to put in the time, sacrifice something to make that happen, to open a door, to bring progress, change something? So in my mind, that's what we have, there's like kind of that have to do to make these things work so that other things fall into line. Because I think in Evan's mind, this is me, going to the next level, moving out of my grandparents' house, finding the right relationships that lead to the career path that I want, blah, 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 blah. So if we could somewhat find that through line, get excited about what we're building, not just only what we're doing, is so important to the greatness that lays before me. That's a great, that was kind of a nice little tagline that he had there. So, yeah, anyway, I think that's all I got today. But thank you all for listening, and I will see you next time. Thank you for listening to Mentor Forge Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, wait for it. I'm not going to ask you to review it, I promise. You can, of course, if you want. But you could do is to jump on mentorforge.com/ask questions. It's not on the drop-down menu. You got to actually type it in, mentorforge.com/ask questions, and you can actually ask me a question or leave me a comment. If you're going to be a jerk and troll me, you got to at least be clever and funny, though. So I know I'm talking to a few of you out there. But jump on there, ask a question, leave a comment at mentorforge.com/ask questions. And I'll see y'all next time.